Indies were absolutely insane this week. Not a single miss. Let's talk some indies. Howdy, howdy, American Texan here, and I love comic books, specifically the things that are actually happening in the comics, the story, the art. We'll let other channels deal with the drama and the stupid things that people say and post online. We're here for the stories. We're here for the medium that is comic book sequential storytelling through art. Sequential art, storytelling through sequential art. There we go. There it was. So this week we're talking about indies today, and I've got 6 books that I read, and all of them were absolutely amazing. We've got books from Image, Skybound, Dynamite, IDW, Ghost Machine, and actually another one from IDW. IDW is not on my list a lot. Let's go over to the table and let's talk some indies. All right, so let's talk about some comics that I read. I don't think there was a single bad book that I read. Starting with Twilight Zone number 3, I picked this up. Now, this came out last week, the week before last, but I heard good things about it and I picked it up, and wow, even knowing what the story was about, I was still taken aback. This was such a great story, but also fantastically illustrated. I mean, look at the detail in here. If I can zoom in on my camera here, I mean, just amazing detail on all of these panels here. It was like reading, in my limited vocabulary, it was like reading Savage Sword of Conan. I mean, this was an absolute labor of love. You can really tell it, and it was a fantastic book. So this Twilight Zone number 3, all done by James Stokoe. Wow, this was awesome. This was just absolutely beautiful. It's going to be so hard, y'all, to do a top 3 here based on all the books. So I'm just going to go through them in the order of my stack, because this is hard to pick top 3. Space Ghost, this is number 7 by David Pepose and Jonathan Lau on art. And we get kind of a new little arc set up here with the kids reunited with their grandfather, who's an inventor. And there's a little bit of a business duel or business rivalry that turns violent. And so Space Ghost has to show up. He doesn't quite trust the grandfather, it seems. But the grandfather, I mean, he seems like a decent guy. Maybe he's hiding something, but we can't really tell. The art continues to be amazing. And then there's the kind of the classic superhero villain trope where there's a lab accident and maybe the grandfather's turning into something else here. I'd love these covers too. I want to say the cover was done by, okay, here we go, Francesco Mattina. Awesome cover. I love these covers. So Space Ghost number 7. If you're not reading Space Ghost, it's awesome. And I believe the second volume's coming out in a few weeks. So you can get the first volume and then in a few weeks get the second volume. Absolutely enjoying that. Then we've got Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring Part 5. This is by Patrick Hovarth. And is he doing all the art as well? Got the Tony Fleece movie cover here. Just this one gets cranked up to 11. I was getting a little cool on it, but this one really dials up not only the intrigue, the sadisticness, but also the violence of it too really goes up. In fact, Samantha does something that really takes you aback when you read this. So, you get a lot of heart here with the animal illustrations, but then also I don't know what's going to happen next. This is one of those books that ends and you're just like, holy cow, how could this go any further? But you can see here we get a little bit of a revelation of the duck lady finds her husband. So, man, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. I think it does still read better as a trade. I read volume 1 as a trade, and volume 2, while it is a great read issue to issue, I think it'll be even better as a trade. More great stuff coming out of Ghost Machine. This is Geiger number 20 by Jeff Johns and illustrated by Gary Frank. Absolutely loving this series here. We get a great recap page. Again, I love this. I always appreciate having the recap here. I wish more comics did it. I believe it's like mainly a Marvel thing, but I'm very glad to have this. But not only that, I love it when we get a page 1 that kind of recaps a little bit of like previously on. So to see this, just to give a good recap of what's happening, I really love. And just that beautiful art here. Lots of great art to back up the great heart in the story here. And then we get an appearance by the Northerner shows up. And he's a bit lost out of time as well. So Geiger has no idea what's going on. The Northerner has no idea what's going on. But then you get a little bit of action here with Nate and Dr. I can't remember his name. They're trying to get back to Geiger. Just absolutely beautiful art here. And it is mostly exposition. There is a little bit of action towards the end. But it's a little... I described it as a little tropey in the whole call to adventure refusal and then begrudging going along with it. But it works. It works. This is the 20th issue. So, I mean, Geiger is a little, leave me alone. Okay, fine. I'll go do this with you. It's like the third time this happened. So it's getting a little tiring, but they've gotten so much credit built up in my bank that I will go along with it because, again, this thing looks so good. Geiger number 20 is an absolute heat. I think, though, my favorite read of the week is going to be G.I. Joe. We get the Dreadnought War Part 5 of 5. This is G.I. Joe issue 17, written by Joshua Williamson, illustrated by Tom Riley, and the illustrations here are just amazing. This here was all cinematic. I mean, it almost feels like a movie storyboard, because this issue especially was super cinematic. We get this fantastic page here. Nope, I think it's the next page where they say, Dreadnoks attack, and you get Yo Joe, and G.I. Joe's having a hard time. And then, slight spoiler alert, we figure out that there is a Transformer working alongside the G.I. Joes, and they didn't know about it. So, we get some interesting action there, and just absolutely and you get this shot here from Cobra Commander's like, oh my gosh, he has one of them. And so, I mean, just the build up to this has been amazing. Every issue has been great, though. And this final battle, this final scene here, and then where they go from there is just off the wall amazing. So, G.I. Joe, an absolute joy to read. Last book that I read, I hate to end it on a cooler note, but Transformers. This is number 28 by Robert Kirkman, illustrated by Dan Mora. And I don't know, I'm starting to cool down on this, guys. I don't know what it is, but we just got so many different Transformers. I don't know who they are. There's a lot of talk about the culture of Transformers and, the Magus and what the Magus needs to do. I feel like this is like more meaningful if you know what all this stuff is. And I don't. And you read comics as a fly on the wall, but I feel like I'm too much of a fly on the wall. So I'm barely holding on here. I don't have the connection to the characters I think that the writer assumes I should have. So I don't know. I feel like I'm getting a little bit left out in the cold with this one. It's still absolutely gorgeous. I still absolutely love, seeing the different sound effects and the onomatopoeias. Captain Mayhem is insane, but the illustrations are great. I really love the humanism that Dan Moore is bringing to this. I think he's really doing a good job on the robots, but yeah, I mean, the humans he's doing an even better job on, I think. So overall, Transformers, I think it's still a great read. A bad Transformers book is still a great comic book. We get a little call out to all the different Transformers. And again, I just don't know who all these guys are. I actually did start watching Transformers with my 3-year-old, but he just doesn't have too much into it because they actually do a lot of talking. So anyways, Megatron comes in at the end, and he does get a little bit wild at the end. So, I mean, it did have a great ending, but overall, I feel like I'm barely holding on. And I don't know if weeks get too expensive, this one might go onto the maybe list. Like, I don't know if I want to keep reading it, but I'll at least finish this arc and see where we go from there. So that was this week's Indie Reads. My top reads: G.I. Joe is an absolute smash. Space Ghost was an absolute smash hit. And then I think my third pick is actually going to be the Twilight Zone. It's tough not to have Geiger in there. It's tough not to have Beneath the Trees in there, but I think these are my top 3 of the week: Twilight Zone, Space Ghost, and then 100% number 1, G.I. Joe number 17. So there you have it. Pick of the week, G.I. Joe. It's hard to have a not great G.I. Joe issue, but this one is the top. I think this one actually might be my favorite G.I. Joe issue. Everything from the illustrations to the page turns to the giant double splash fight to the Transformer showing up, was absolutely cool. And then they had a pretty good setup as well. So, G.I. Joe, man, this was the best ever. But also, don't sleep on Twilight Zone. The good thing about Twilight Zone is, just like me, you can just pick up a random issue. As far as I know, there's no ongoing arc. You can just open it up, read a story, enjoy it by itself. That's when I think comics are the best. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you are reading down in the comments below. I'm always on the lookout for new stories or writers to pay attention to. Subscribe if you want more comic content, and I will see you all in the next video. Adios.